You need to check out Science Night Live at the Orlando Science Center, osc.org.
Yep, it's 21 and up. It's your time to hang out at the Orlando Science Center without the kids and enjoy all the great exhibits.
Yeah, release that inner child. Grab yourself a cool beverage.
Yes, they have some adult beverages.
Yes, sir.
They also have guest speakers. No two Science Night Lives are the same. So if you went to the last Science Night Live, this one's different. So each one is different.
Keynote speakers, you can try hands-on, like Dr. Dare's lab. You can be a part of that. And again, you get to kind of have a little soiree with your friends, adult cocktails. It's only $19. It's awesome.
Just like Daniel said, get your tickets now because it is only $19, but they do sell out. It's June 10th from 8 to 11:30 p.m. It's Science Night Live at osc.org. This gentleman's going to be at the Improv tonight. TheImprovOrlando.com for tickets.
That's how you get them. One show, so you got to be quick.
On Zoom with us right now is Sammy Obeid. How you doing, Sammy?
Hey, Tom and Dan. How we doing? Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, man, thanks for being here. We certainly do appreciate it. Welcome. You're coming to Orlando. You're coming from Boston? Where are you coming from?
No, I came from Los Angeles.
Okay. Oh, you're coming from L.A. and you're because I was looking at your Twitter this morning and I saw you going, or on your blog rather, that you're going to Boston soon. But hey, man, thanks for taking the time to pop in here via Zoom.
Of course. No, it's one night in Orlando, and got to make it count. They all said Tom and Dan is the place to go.
Thank you.
Who told you that?
Yeah. Krista just told you that.
Yeah, Krista's she's very kind. Yeah, we're okay. Yeah, we do our best.
So Sammy, I feel bad even asking you this question because, when even doing our research about you, it's a question that I'm sure you've answered 1,000 times in 1,000 media interviews.
1,001.
And speaking of 1,000, you did 1,001 comedy nights. Now,
we like to start with the stuff that no one fucking asks ever. We like to go with the
obscure questions.
Give people something new.
But I got a variation of it. Maybe you haven't been asked. So I heard in an interview when you were talking about it that you were on number like 700 or 800, and there was a night that basically you were waiting and they ran out of time, and then so you hauled ass over to some Irish karaoke bar just to get in a set so you could accomplish your goal that night. And so then when I heard that story, it dawned on me that you were doing all this for yourself, not necessarily like a promotion.
Personal goal.
Which is a great promotion, by the way, but it's because you could have just lied and no one would have known.
Yeah.
He would have known.
Yeah.
And that night you speak of, I got punched in the stomach. So that was a good reminder that I went with my gut.
Yeah. So obviously, like going up and doing stand-up at a karaoke night is awkward as hell. Everybody's, the stories, everybody's booing you. You got punched.
I mean, it's not a target-rich environment, right? Those people don't know why you're there or care.
So why not just skip the night and just say you did it? It's just one night, 732, but once you got to 1,000, no one, is it because you couldn't do it?
Yeah, so that exact thing, and this is, I will commend you on a very original question. Never heard that one before. And that actually happened to me, it was like night 176 or something.
Okay.
The same thing happened. Couldn't get on a show, drove all around San Francisco looking for a spot. And at some point, like 11:30 p.m., I was like, you know what? Maybe I just tell people I did it. And the streak stays alive. I don't stress out. Win-win. And after a little bit more driving, I had the thought that I don't think I could live with myself telling that lie and telling people I did comedy that many days in a row when I actually skipped a day. And I realized I couldn't deal with the guilt. I had to do something. And at that exact moment, I saw this bar where I'd once did an open mic, and I went and I asked the owner, I said, hey, can I perform for these 10 people? And he let me on. And ever since then, I was like, I'm going to do that worst case scenario.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's almost like a craving. It's like you only had to give yourself like 15 minutes to talk yourself out of, it's like going to get like chips or a cookie for me. It's like you only had to give yourself enough time to really be Sammy. And then you realize, no, that's not me. That's not authentic me. That would drive me crazy. Plus all of that work, just thinking all of that work and you ruining it. Oh my God, man.
Yeah. That's why in the 900s, it got real stressful.
I bet.
Yeah.
And you were also extremely tired. And, I read a couple things, actually one interview I read where you really couldn't physically write a joke at that point?
Yeah, the last 200 days, I was so stressed out, and I was having anxiety attacks from everything, from the pressure of finishing. Because at that point, I told everybody, and when you tell everybody, you have to do it, and it just killed the creativity inside. I couldn't even write a single joke, but I would still do really well on stage, even though I was dead inside.
So, Sammy, okay, that's what I wanted to ask you about.
I should be laughing at it.
Because, man, you just gotta turn it on, right?
Because here's, this is what I find interesting, because, everything in life's about reps, right? The more reps you have, the better you get.
Yeah.
But there is, at a certain point, even in exercise, you talk to, triathletes and stuff, where you have to take breaks because you get diminishing returns after a while.
Or it could just be straight detrimental. At some point, it becomes toxic to you.
So I'm sure, was there a point in the 1001 Nights where you felt like you reached your peak, and then it started there, you got diminishing returns after?
Totally, and that was day 667.
Oh my God, the devil! The devil was like the day after. He's like, I'll give him one more.
Exactly. Yeah, one more. One plus the devil. Yeah. You never hear a trainer do 1,001 reps and then take 10 days off. You never hear that. So I definitely learned. I definitely learned the importance of a night off or a day off of literally anything you do to gain perspective. That was really the biggest lesson I learned from the whole thing. But I did get a kind of momentum that no other comedian ever had. And so I will say that finishing that 1,001 days felt very good.
Oh yeah, well, anything that's would you do it again?
Hell no.
Okay. All right. Because sometimes you see these people they'll go there's a climber right now that's scaling all 14 of the highest peaks, and she's trying to do it within I think 90 days or 180 days. It's something ridiculous. But sometimes you're a young guy. When I didn't realize your age, so when I was looking at all of this and seeing that you were doing this, there's all these articles that you see and you're like, yeah, I'm 29 at the time, and I'm like, my God, this is a young you're going to be so good at comedy when you're old. Dude, you're my God, you'll have 50, 60 years of reps.
Isn't that crazy, though? I spent a third of my 20s doing 1,000 days of comedy. So,
how did you fall in love with it? How did you fall in love with comedy and wanting to do something some people would say crazy, but I would say you obviously love it. You love it.
Well, yeah, and before you start, I just want to. That was going to be my next question, because you've got your math degree from Berkeley. You're
math and business. Yeah, he's a smart guy.
And that
I want to be a math guy so bad, and I'm an English guy, and English guys are idiots, and math guys are smart guys.
It just seems like
start counting more. That's all you got to do.
So how do you go from math teacher and then to comic?
Yeah, people are always like, yeah, you did math and business and then comedy. You must be really smart. How smart can I be if I chose comedy?
All right, that's fair.
So people would always tell me I was funny. Friends would always tell me, oh, try stand-up. It's something you kind of take lightly when a bunch of people say it, because I had other things going for me. And then at some point when I graduated, I was like, I don't want to do I don't want to be an engineer. I don't want to be an accountant. I like connecting with people. I like public speaking. So I gave it a try, and it went really well. Comedy went really well for me in the first few years. But to be honest, I don't think I actually loved it till last year.
Really?
Yeah. I feel like it took me 12 years to actually love comedy. And by love, I mean wake up craving to write and create for people and inspire and spread love. In the beginning, it's more about the results. It's more about I love the feeling that I get when I'm on stage. I love that I'm good at something. But now it's I actually love the craft.
Do you
Does that
think?
make sense?
Do you think the pandemic had anything to do with that? Being stuck inside?
Did.
Yeah.
It did, actually. I was starting to love it right before the pandemic, but the pandemic happened. And suddenly all comedians, we lost our livelihood, as a lot of people did, obviously.
Right. Sure.
But the ability to connect with people in person, that was what we did. And so I started basically a virtual comedy club within the first few weeks of the pandemic. It was called KO Comedy. It still exists, actually.
Nice.
And in the beginning, we would do Friday, Saturday, Sunday every week, and I would host those shows, and I would have the same following come every time. So I would have to write a new 15 minutes for every night. And that act of writing a new 45 minutes every week really made me appreciate the craft of joke writing.
It's really, really hard. Is it difficult for you to hold yourself accountable? I mean, not to make that the entire theme of today's show, but to put yourself on that hook and say, like, okay, remember, you have to do 15, you got to, does that pressure drive you or scare you?
It drives me, but the cool thing about, like, for instance, when I was hosting these shows and having the same people there, they know you so well that they will just be listening to your every word, and they already know your sensibility. So you can just kind of talk about your day, and they'll find it hilarious,
Right.
So you get kind of an ease there, and so yeah, that helped. But it was also very motivating knowing that I couldn't repeat a joke. So you do have to be like, I need to say some fresh stuff today. What am I going to say?
That's cool.
Sammy, what do you think is like your mentality that allowed you to be fine with the Zoom comedy shows? Because we heard from so many other comedians, and I'm sure you have too.
Yeah. He's like one of one that did not complain.
They couldn't.
Right.
Some of them didn't even try.
Yeah, they either hated doing it or they didn't do it at all.
Some of them tried one and they couldn't stand it.
Most of our old timers, I'll say, like, if you put him in like the Pepitone group of people that call in here.
Yeah.
He's never gonna. He's like, F that, fuck that shit. I'm not doing it. I don't do it.
But some guys like
That's
try.
actually
Dan
not
Cummins.
true. I got Eddie to do my show one.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, you get him do it once.
He's so sweet.
Anybody, and I'll tell you, anybody who said I hate Zoom comedy, Zoom shows suck, never did my show. We had the best Zoom show in the game.
I love it.
And the reason is because I figured out at the very beginning that what makes Zoom shows suck is that you don't get the audience feedback that you want. So we had a group of what we called VIP designated laughers. We'd have about 20 people who had to turn their cameras on, and they're people who willingly wanted to engage. Some of them were shirtless, but who cares? They were laughing.
Yeah.
And the comedians got the instant feedback that they wanted. We had a DJ, so we made it as much like a live show as we could, and we did the best we could. It's still not the real thing,
right?
But it was the methadone of, you know what I mean? It was.
That's crazy.
Well, you figured it out, and so Sammy, I'm like going back to having a math brain, and I say it like that because I think people that are exceptionally good at math like just think differently, or their brain works differently than other people. Like, I know some people, math doesn't compute to them at all, like they just can't even comprehend it. And then so have you met a lot of other comedians that have a brain that works like yours? Do you find it helped your career in comedy? Because I imagine that it works a little bit different than other people's brains.
Most comedians aren't as organized. I would imagine that to some point you have a good level of organizational skill.
Yeah. In terms of how I have my jokes and files and stuff like that, it doesn't apply to like my car or my room.
Okay.
But yeah. There are a handful of other comedians who either have like a tech background, they were engineers, math majors. Not a lot. I'd say maybe like 20% of the comedians I meet are more like math inclined. And the thing is, like, when it comes to people, I would say half of people are math people. Just they don't always know it. We either tend to be like language people, or we tend to be more like math, logical, computational kinds of people. So yes, most people, like, there's a lot of math people, and that's why a lot of people do like relate to the way I think. But I will say it gave me an advantage in terms of how I approach the art of writing jokes. It's all a process. Everything's a formula. And once you kind of discover that formula, it makes joke writing a lot easier.
Yeah, like I heard, I think in one of the articles I was reading about you were talking about how you categorize, or you started very early on categorizing jokes with like giving them a rating, right? Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. A lot of comedians, they'll do this thing like, oh, that's A material, or that's B material. They'll grade it on the letter grading system. But I wanted to give my jokes the benefit of the doubt, so I say they're all A's, but some are A pluses, some are A double pluses, some are A triple pluses.
Yeah.
So I start at A. That's the lowest I go, and then I just go up from there.
That's some good self-confidence, man.
Well, I also feel like just based. Okay, now following here. See, I'm not like that. I don't have a lot of confidence. You guys know that. I struggle with that.
Yeah.
But I feel like naturally, if you use the mindset of, well, why would I put it out there if it's not A?
True.
You know, like I kind of like what you're. Man, I was when I was reading this article, I'm like, and you used a word earlier when you were talking about how you like to go out and you like to quote inspire. I like that.
Yes.
Like you have a good vibe. Like I when I was reading the article, I was like, yes, of course he's succeeding because. You know, this is you read a person like this, you're like, oh yes, that's the person that should succeed. You know, like
thank you, I appreciate.
Seems like a good person.
Oh, I just thought of something, Sammy. I'm gonna get real deep for a second.
We're really high right now. We're so strong.
No,
my God,
okay.
all morning we've been tooting crazy.
I'm sure you've seen all this new AI and with all the AI talk and with people using it, and then even to the creative AI, where like it'll just present to you a portrait or a picture of something you thought of randomly, and it's starting to get creative, and it's only going to get better. So do you think,
or worse,
there will be a time where AI will be smart enough to be as creative as any human could be?
AI stand-up?
Like, yeah, like, do you think AI could create stand-up
good jokes
that could actually be funny to a group of people, and then them not determine whether it is...
And they can't tell the difference.
Yeah.
Yes, I do. You know, because people often say, "Oh, have you listened to ChatGPT's jokes? They're so bad." But yeah, like so were mine in year one. You know?
Yeah.
Good point.
Give the AI some time. You know, I'll take it on the road. It'll open for me. Then it'll middle. And then it'll be doing its own.
Then it'll crush your skull.
Yeah, give it 10 years, and then you take it on the road. And if it's female ChatGPT, you can masturbate in front of it, like all male comedians do. Right? That's what you do. You masturbate in front of it.
Yeah.
You threaten to
I want to get canceled by ChatGPT.
Yeah, you're never going to work in Hollywood again.
Yeah, no. You know, I definitely think they'll be capable of writing jokes that humans won't be able to detect if, a person thought of it or ChatGPT thought of it. But the nuance of delivery, that's something that would take an incredibly long time for them to master if they created some kind of bot that appeared like a human and could tell jokes in the nuanced way that we can, or be able to read a room in the way that we can. That's going to take decades.
That's true. That's very important. Reading the room. If something's not going well, you got to pivot, right?
Well,
is a robot going to know to do that?
Well, I mean, it's
going to start killing the entire audience.
It scans. I've seen the movies. It scans with the red laser. It scans everybody. I mean, it's like, all right,
it's going to scan the room.
I'm at Apollo.
They're smiling.
I need to change my set.
There's like a series of cameras at the top, and it scans the room, and then there sees.
If AI starts headlining shows, I'm going to change my career to heckler.
So, Sammy, tell us about the reality show that you were hosting, because
you were with the big dog, 100 Humans, right?
Yes, 100 Humans on Netflix.
Yeah, man. I mean, when you're working for Netflix, is that hard, or is that like super? I mean, I don't want you to say anything bad, really, unless you can. But like, was it hard hosting? Did they let you be funny?
Oh yeah, so the thing is, we worked more with a production company versus like Netflix itself. There was a couple Netflix execs that would show up, and they were very cool, very fluid, and like liked everything I was doing. The issue, the issue with the show is, first of all, it's reality TV, so you can be loosely scripted, but we had to deliver certain lines in certain ways. And I guess my one complaint about the show is that it wasn't really staffed with comedic writers. So if we wanted to say something funny, we either had to do it ourselves or we had to write it ourselves. And not everything we wanted to say was allowed or they were okay with.
Sure.
So that was kind of the only issue in terms of like being able to be fully expressive on the show. But the actual filming of the show was super fun. I mean, we had complete control of 100 human guinea pigs. You know what I mean? We were doing experiments on them, and we were the heads of the experiment. So they looked up to us. We had the point of authority the whole time. It was a very fun show.
Did you learn anything about human psychology or sociology when you were doing it that you were surprised about?
Yes. When people ask me this question, I tell them the most blown away I was on the show is when we did this experiment where we had the humans build towers out of pasta, like an 8th grade kind of science class kind of thing.
Yeah.
They're building towers out of pasta. And then one group, we tell them, you're doing it for money. Whichever team builds the highest pasta building gets paid. And then the other group, we said, you guys are just doing it for fun. Just have fun. Try to build the tower high if you can, but just have fun. And the group that had fun built the higher towers than the group that was getting paid.
See, Tom, it's not
Work
all
can
about
be
money.
fun, Tom.
Not all about money.
Oh,
This
how
guy
is that
hates
possible?
fun.
This guy
hates
just
fun.
yells, "Get to work" every day.
Yeah, he's a slave driver. He's saying
What?
get to work all the time. He values money over his own sons.
No, what
There
was?
you go. There you go.
No, come on. No. So what is it, Sammy? Is it the pressure's off? So people.
Yes.
Okay.
So what I observed initially, because I watched the whole experiment, was that the groups, so these were teams, by the way, and they were working together. The teams that were doing this where the money was at stake, they started bickering with each other and arguing about how to do it. And that held them back because they had a time limit. They had about 20 minutes to build this tower. And that all that deliberation basically made them eat up a lot of time, and they weren't able to build it. Whereas the group that just had fun, they're like, let's just build and see what happens. So, if you know construction
Loosen the
workers,
reins
just be
a
like,
little
hey,
bit over
try
there.
not doing it for pay this time.
You have no idea how mad Tom just got when,
No,
he
no,
saw
I
you
understand,
say.
I
when,
understand.
When he saw you say, "Let's just build," he was like, "Ooh."
Let's
he
see what
clenched his-
happens.
yeah,
Well,
he clenched his
no,
fists hard.
All I heard is emotion ruined the paid. If they wouldn't have argued and they wouldn't have got angry, they would have built.
Right. So, so the team itself is important. If the team can work together, then maybe it's better to pay them. I don't know.
There you go. Fun and money. Why not? That's cool. Are they going to bring it back? Do they any plans to do another series with it?
I don't think so. I think at this point it seems like it's not going to happen. But I still want to do some experiments on my own channel. So I've been plotting a few. I actually posted a few earlier this year. So I plan to do some more.
Nice,
Well,
man.
Sammy, speaking of experiments, and you, and I'm not sure if you do it anymore, but you had a super interesting podcast where you talked to people about like their
Medical conditions.
conditions that they normally didn't talk
Called
about. Like,
pre-existing condition.
when did you come up with that?
That was an idea that I'd been sitting on for quite some time, and I finally approached a comedian friend of mine who's a doctor. This was in 2019, and we only podcasted for 1 year. She ended up leaving it for another project, but we had a great time. We talked with a lot of people about all sorts of conditions, from ADD to flat feet to anxiety. So we learned a lot, and I'm really big into alternative like healing and natural remedies and stuff like that. Whereas my partner, she's a doctor, so she's very familiar with Western medicine and all the typical ways you can heal stuff with medicine.
Have you done ayahuasca?
Yeah, I've not tried ayahuasca,
okay.
But my doctor friend actually endorses it. So
doctor endorsed.
Cool. She's a cool doctor. Yeah.
The cool doctors give you all the fun stuff like ayahuasca and medical marijuana.
Podcast.
Sammy, what do you think about it? Because everybody that tells us a story about themselves doing ayahuasca has a positive outcome. On the other, they're glad they did it. They're claiming it opened up
Changed their
pathways.
lives.
Well, except for that one lady who screams, "Give me back my husband." Other than that,
So what do you think about doing ayahuasca?
Oh, I spoke with a friend not too long ago, and she really convinced me. She said it was horrible the first night. She said the first night she was throwing up. She hated everybody she was with. She was like, "Why am I doing this?" And didn't even want to do it the next night, but she persevered and said that like the next night was just a complete opposite. It was just like perfection, bliss, and she had all these self-revelations. So I'm really sold on it. I don't know when or where I'm going to do it or who I'm going to do it with, but I think I want to try it after what I heard.
Well, now
I want to do it with Carrot Top.
He's local.
Hold on, he's local. And Fred Durst. Hold on, I have a honey hole list.
Okay.
And Billy D. Williams.
There you go.
But he may be dead. I don't know if Billy D's still
Well, now you don't have to go down to the jungles of Peru anymore.
No.
There's
you
like
go to a church. There's a church in every city.
Well, there's like upscale hotel rooms that people like celebrities do the ayahuasca in like nice environments.
Let me get that.
Well, the jungle huts. I was like, I don't want to go all the way down to a jungle.
Can you become addicted to it? Because I enjoy throwing up, so I'm afraid I might. I'm afraid I might.
Who
be,
knows?
Yeah, I mean, like
it might be like a microdose thing. It might be available in vending machines pretty soon. So we'll see.
I mean, everything else is. Well, hey, man, we're glad you're coming to Orlando. TheImprovorlando.com to grab those tickets.
Oh.
One show tonight at 7, right?
Yes.
One show night, 7:30. Yes.
Oh, 7:30. 7:30.
Yep.
Snag those tickets. One more question, Tom.
I was just going to ask you, Sammy, because just from the 1,001 Nights and just from hearing you talk and speak about writing and the discipline of doing it every day, and then I was curious, do you find yourself addicted to the grind that it takes to become successful or better at something?
100%. I'm a workaholic. I think I get it from my dad. I spend every hour of the day thinking about work, which in comedy is weird because we only actually have work for 1 hour a day. So
Right.
I spend a lot of time. I do all my own booking. I don't have an agent or manager. I do all my own travel booking. So the whole process of lining up a tour and executing that tour is a full-time job in itself. And I spend the entirety of my day thinking about it.
Do you have to specifically take breaks and meditate or something just to get your mind off?
The balance.
I'm sure you could burn yourself out with.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so how do you manage that?
Yeah, well, I make sure I get my sleep. I work out. That's a good break. Helps me let off some steam. And I know it's not as big in this state, but I am a marijuana fan.
Okay.
So I occasionally smoke a few times a week, and that gives my mind a creative break from the kind. I'm a very left brain person without it. So it's a nice break. But who knows? Ayahuasca soon. Yeah.
I was going to ask you about marijuana because we all like marijuana here. And in Florida, it became medical. So it's basically.
So, of course, we all have horrible conditions where we need it.
You don't even need, just.
Right.
You just go get it and whatever. But when I take marijuana, I find that sometimes, all of a sudden, I start having idea after idea after idea. It makes me more creative. And then it causes me to sometimes work more because all of a sudden I'm like, oh, I thought of this idea. And so that doesn't happen to you?
It happens all the time. And but what's different is it makes me really, really love what I'm doing. Not to say that I don't love working. I'm addicted to working, but sometimes when I'm high and working, I'm like, now this is fun.
Okay, I like that.
Yeah, you get in that flow state where everything is coming to you, everything, and then you're like, that's even better. This is even better. I'll do this.
Yes.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about, man. That's awesome.
Well, Sammy, it's been great talking to you. We appreciate it.
We hope that you'll come through and maybe if you're spending extra time in Orlando, any other time than tonight, we'd like to, get you on the couch. Swing on by and come see us.
I definitely plan to come back, maybe in 6 months to a year. And I'd love to come and say hi to you guys.
Yeah, man. Let us know because this was super fun and we'd like to do it again. And again, guys, theimprovorlando.com. Sammy, thank you so much for the time, man. We appreciate it.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate you.
All right, man. Take care. See ya. That is Sammy Obeid.
Yeah, super nice guy. Super smart, too.
Wow.
I didn't get to ask him about running for president.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
It's on the sheet.
He's going for the world record of the longest running candidate. Running for president in 2036.
Oh, I like that. Oh, so he's starting it now.
Well, he started it a couple years ago.
Oh, so he's just going to continue going.
Yeah.
We should have asked him if he really.
I think he started it in 2017.
Because doesn't it cost? How much money does it cost to submit the paperwork? It's expensive. I think.
Yeah, I thought it was.
Is it $20,000 or?
I have no idea.
Or is it $5,000?
We'll ask him next time.
Golden Palace to put
He'll be back before 2036. We can ask him then.
We'll ask him. Yeah, by that time, who knows?
All right. See you guys on some other show we do.
Yep.